Hey guys, welcome to the channel, Sunny here, and today we're going to cover what I think BDO needs to do to stay as good as it is and keep growing. So let's take a look at my personal top 3 things that I not only want to see, but I think we need to see in Black Desert Online. Let's get to it. The first one on my list you already have seen if you have watched the video. BDO is mind-blowing in 2023, the video I reacted to fairly recently, where a new player tried out BDO and gave it his thoughts. And one of the things he talked about was getting into PvP and experiencing that. Now, there's been a lot of talks over the years of having trial red battlefields and stuff like that, but I think the solution is right in front of us, and it's way better, way easier, and it's gonna affect the game in a way more positive direction than that. You simply make an RBF using the Arena of Solara gearing system. So we're talking equalized gear, just like in Arena of Solara. However, you have your options, you have your build options, and this will also allow everyone to play on an equal footing right out the gate, the same rules, the same aim for time to kill as you have in Arena of Solara. Now, this game mode here should of course be available for everyone. And especially for new players, it's important when trying to get into PvP to feel like you have a fighting chance and also get a relatively good experience, which is why you have the season server PvP. The problem is that the season server PvP in Arena, in Red Battlefield, well, you need to be on season to do that. So you're already segregating the player base, which has its advantages in terms of skill and knowledge of the game, but it also means it's way harder getting matches. And if any of you guys have ever tried, it's super hard getting into a season RBF. We've been doing a couple on the stream, getting the community together, and it's been absolutely amazing. People not knowing what they're doing and trying it out, not being max gear and everything like that. So why not combine the season server experience with the real game? And we simply just have a Red Battlefield mode that uses your pre-selected gear, just like in Arena of Solara. You could enter this mode at, say, level 56 after having done your Awakening and Succession questline. It unlocks the game mode, and then later on at level 60, the Arena of Solara game mode unlocks, and you can now try out the PvP, equalize footing in a way more relaxed environment. One of the issues with using the Arena of Solara as the equalized playfield for people to learn the game, even in the practice mode, is there's a lot more pressure on you as a new player or somebody trying to learn a new class when it's you and 2 others. So you have a huge responsibility, even in a practice mode. And no matter how you think about it, there will be a lot more pressure on you as a player going into it. And I know for a fact that it alienates a lot of people for even trying it out. And yes, we are talking practice mode, not even ranked. So having a RBF mode to do this, I think will be a way better way and way easier way to introduce people that are interested in trying out PvP. So PA, let's have it. Arena of Solara gearing for an RBF mode. Over the last year and a half to 2 years, there's been 3 things that I, as a Black Desert Online content creator, have been trying to push the most for in seeing changes in the game. One of those was crystal presets, which we got last year, and it's been absolutely amazing. It's honestly been better than I had even hoped for. So I'm super happy to see at least one of the 3 big things for me being scratched off the list. The second one on the list has been PvE balance. For me, I am a PvPer. I see myself as a PvPer, but I do a lot of PvE, and I understand that the majority of people focus on PvE. So if you're a PvPer, there's a good chance you do PvE. If you are a PvEer, you don't have to do PvP. So for me, it's always been more important that the game focuses, or at least get as close to PvE balance as possible first, and then of course work on PvP balance as well. But PvE balance, I think, is the most important. Now, we're getting close. PA Prolobis have been absolutely amazing over the last couple of months here, at almost weekly putting out big and extensive PvE balance updates for all classes. And even those that missed the mark, there's been some updates to the classes afterwards. So we still have a couple of classes missing that really need some PvE love, but I have a lot of confidence that PA have not stopped working on it, and we'll see some more changes throughout the months and years. However, there are a couple of things that I think they need to introduce to the game to make this not only easier, but also more realistic. And it's 2 new stats. One of the big issues in terms of PvE balance is that it often affects PvP balance. Take, for example, a class that is a glass cannon. It's very low survivability, has low base stats, low HP, but high damage, because that's the class that functions in a different way in PvP. Now, when you take the same class, it should not necessarily be a glass cannon in PvE, because either it then deals too much damage in areas where it can survive, and then it is just the best PvE class, or it dies and then it can't grind areas the same. So what I think that PA should do to easier balance classes in PvE, because in my opinion, all classes should be S tier, all classes, all specs. It doesn't matter how good you are in PvP, you should be equally good as everyone else in PvE. So what I want to see is this. Number 1, I want PA to start adding monster damage reduction as a buff on some abilities for some classes. If you have a class that is very, very squishy and takes a lot of damage in PvE, instead of trying to fix that issue by giving it more front guards or more survivability that will affect PvP balance, give those classes a buff on several abilities that give them monster damage reduction. That way they get a free bonus stat of survivability in PvE. It's going to allow to make it way easier to balance in terms of damage taken and damage output for your grind. Now the second one is the other side of the coin. It's the damage output. We already have amazing stats in the game in terms of PvP damage reduction and PvE damage. So the damage is split up. We already have PvP CC and PvE CC and so on and so forth. What we need is PvE accuracy. There's a lot of classes that are balanced in PvP around having high damage on abilities, but low accuracy. Now, that is fine in PvP because that gives you advantages and disadvantages, but when you're trying to make something that is equally balanced in PvE, it doesn't work. Because let's say we have 2 classes, one that has high damage, low accuracy, one that has lower damage but higher accuracy. Now, if you balance those 2 about dealing the same damage in PvE, when they have 100% hit rate, well, the class with high accuracy will then deal more damage in areas where they need more accuracy, because he has or she has the free stats. So what PA needs to do is introduce a monster accuracy rate and add it to all abilities in the game. That way they can tone down the high damage PvE abilities that are now compensated with accuracy, and thereby have a way more balanced across the board at all the grind spots damage output across all classes. With those 2 changes, I think PA will take a huge step in not only being able to balance PvE proper, but also making it happen. Now, of course, we save the best for last. The last item on my 3 things that I've always wanted to see improved in the game is a controversial one. But I believe in this wholeheartedly, and I think PA does too. What I want to see, and what I think we need to see, is the concept of universal weapons. Now, what does that mean? Well, the concept of universal weapons has many sorts of solutions, but the baseline is that you don't have restrictions on your weapons in the game anymore. You will be able to take your great sword, Black Star, awakening weapon from your warrior, and you go onto your witch, you put it in the inventory, and now it is the 2 balls you can play with. So that is the baseline. And for a bit of context, last Calthian Ball, which was around December in 2022, Pearl Abyss actually introduced universal weapons to Black Desert Mobile. So their reasoning for this was the exact same reasoning that I've been talking about for over a year now. of why I wanted to see this concept added to the game. However, I will go one further. I don't think it's enough just to remove the class restrictions on weapons and thereby allowing you to use all your gear on all your characters. I think they need to go one step further. What I want to see is the gear preset added to the game. And not just any sort of gear preset. I want to see the universal one. So what I mean by that is, imagine the Arena of Solar gear. You have your crystal presets and you get like a new option to put in all your gear. So you can put in all your items, your weapons, your armors, your life scaling gear, your tools, whatever it is, into this loadout, just like the crystal preset. And then you can open up a gear preset, think Arena of Solar, and you're on your character. So if I'm on my warrior, I have all my items there and I can just equip them. I can save my PvP preset. I can then add my crystals to that preset, my skill add-ons to that preset. So whenever I load my PvP gear preset, everything switches right away. I can then make a PvE loadout. Again, I can put in the different presets for my crystals. I can load my different gearing that I need for maybe PvE grinding, save that, life skilling, and so on. And I want to be able to do this on all my characters with no restrictions. So I want to be able to have my full gear available on all my characters at all time. I want to have my full gear on my boss ults. Of course, I will probably not be putting crystals in that gear when I'm using them on my boss ults, but imagine the possibilities of how PA can then rework the boss systems, the world bosses, because now people are not going there with no gear or try to valor that they have left over from a season. People are actually going to show up with real decked out characters. They can make the fights way more fun, engaging, harder, and actually rework the entire system based around people actually having gear now. On top of that, we already know that the game has a way of pausing buffs when you enter Arena Solar. How about they do it so whenever you have buffs running, those buffs are tied to a preset. So if you're out grinding, you're doing PvE, the homies are calling, yo, we need some help, you got PvP, you got 43 minutes left of your church buffs and your 10 buff and everything, no problem. You switch over to your PvP spec, your loadout, and all your buffs are now cleared. You have your PvP buffs ready, and your PvE buffs are not running anymore. So also have your buffs tied to your preset. Not only do I want to be able to use all my gear, I, just like in Arena Solar, want to have the options on at least my armor pieces to choose between the two versions of the Fallen Guard gloves. And when we get the boots, I would want the same option. Right now, they've added a way to switch between the gloves, the DR version and the Evasion version, and I think that's amazing. However, you still cannot have a DR version of your Fallen Guard gloves and have a character tagged and that character using the Evasion version, or vice versa. So this would fix it. Just like in Arena of Solar, when you go in and you set your gear preset, you have your big gloves and you have your Libra gloves. If you have a pair of Fallen Guard gloves and you put it into gear preset, I want to be able to choose if that is a DR version or Evasion version I'm equipping in my gear preset. And once we get the boots, I want the same options. And you might be like, well, what about all the flavor of the month, rerollers and everything? Wouldn't this be terrible? And I don't think so. People that already reroll are already doing it. So the people that are rerolling for flavor of the month and playing the meta or whatever it is, they are already doing it. The current system doesn't hurt people like that. It hurts the new player, the average player that might want to try something out, might want to try a new class out. So how many of you guys have not thought about maybe trying out Tamer or Lan or Mystic, but you haven't done it because you heard it isn't that good? Well, now you can just try it out. And if it turns out it's not that good, you would not have been punished by 3, 6, 10 billion silver in tagging cost, having to tag and retag if it turns out it actually isn't that good. I would argue that the current system actually incentivizes people to play what is meta. I've tried it time and time again. Somebody comes into my stream and asks, what class is good? What should I play? And while the obvious answer is play what you think is fun, you also have to understand where people are coming from. If you're going to invest a lot of time into gearing and progressing a character, you want to make sure you're not wasting your time. And it's relatively costly to try out a new class on for size in BDO and figure out maybe this is the one that I really enjoyed. And then, well, you might stick to it. I think if anything, having more freedom in trying out classes will incentivize people to try out the class that they've actually wanted to play instead of feeling like they have to play what's good, what's meta, because, well, I can't afford to test it out otherwise. So I think this is a change that will really help the game long term and also help the player base in enjoying the game more. And I also, maybe most importantly, think that PA will make more money with this. Because if you're going to try out a new class, if you're going to play some alts, maybe now you're playing 2-3 classes, well, you got to get a costume for those classes. You got to make sure they look good, right? So I don't think there's any real legitimate reason. This is a change that will make the players happy and the company money. What's not to love? PA, get on it. So guys, that was my personal top 3 things of implementations to BDO that I feel like we not only want to see, but need to see in the game. But I'm curious, what do you think of my list? Am I right? Am I wrong? But more importantly, what are your top 3 picks for stuff you think BDO should be doing to keep this game growing, becoming better and better down the line as well? Guys, don't forget to tune in at twitch.tv/bprimegaming. Drop a comment with your suggestions, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.